After coming home from working late that night, I found my husband applying ointment to the inside of his first love's thigh. She was wearing my pajamas and lying in my bed, so I immediately listed everything in the house on a secondhand marketplace, including the house itself. When my husband found out, he kicked me out of the master bedroom furious. Leah got scammed by her boyfriend, and he abused her too. She had nowhere to go, so I brought her to our place. How can you have no sympathy at all? Girls should help girls. The way he guarded the master bedroom stabbed right through me. All of a sudden, I felt that this marital home I had decorated myself was so cold it made me shiver. I did not question him like I usually did, and only turned around in silence and walked toward the couch in the living room. Julian Graham glanced at me, thought I was throwing a tantrum, shook his head helplessly, and went back into the master bedroom. Looking at the message on my phone that someone had booked a viewing for the house, I let out a breath of relief, closed my eyes, and fell asleep. I was not entering this cage called Mrs. Graham anymore. In the middle of the night, when I woke with a start, my stomach was still cramping. The living room light was still on, and half a glass of cold water sat on the table. Julian Graham had forgotten to buy my stomach medicine again. I braced myself against the couch and sat up, the back of my hand covered in cold sweat. Light seeped through the crack under the master bedroom door, and a woman's muffled moans came from inside. I let out a cold laugh and walked over while holding on to the wall. When I pushed the door open, the woman sleeping in my bed had stripped down to only her bra and underwear. My husband was beside her, bare from the waist up, holding a bottle of something that looked like lube. There was a suspicious little wad of tissue beside them. When he saw me, he calmly put away the little bottle and pulled the blanket over Leah, covering her bruised body. Julian Graham frowned at me. I was just putting medicine on her. As you can see, Leah was beaten black and blue by her ex-boyfriend. She was in too much pain to sleep, and I really was only helping her put ointment on, so don't overthink it. Leah clutched the blanket around herself, looking soft and fragile, and her eyes started to redden. Julian, maybe I should leave after all. Am I affecting your marriage? I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. She made a show of getting up. Julian Graham pressed her back onto the bed with a heartbroken look and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. When he turned back to face me, only deep disgust remained in his eyes. Do you have to be so petty? She's only staying here for a few nights. I sneered. Does staying here mean the two of you have to take your clothes off for her medicine? Julian Graham said. Stop being unreasonable. He got off the bed, rushed toward me, grabbed my hand, and dragged me out of the bedroom. He shut the door and pointed at the little sign on it. Sleeping. Please do not disturb. The sign was new. I had never bought it. He said, you're not allowed to disturb Leah's rest. From now on, you're forbidden from coming into the master bedroom. I said, this is the house I bought. I can't come in. Julian Graham frowned. She's only staying in the master bedroom. I walked toward the guest bedroom. As soon as the door opened, I saw our wedding favors piled inside in a total mess. On the floor, one of my $3,000 shirts had been used as a rag and was covered in dust. Against the wall was Leah's cello, and her yoga mat lay on the floor. I turned to look at him. She's staying in the guest room too? Julian Graham avoided my gaze. Playing the cello helped stabilize her emotions. My phone showed a new message notification. I opened my phone. The estimate pushed by the real estate platform popped up, and it was much lower than the purchase price. I ignored him, sat back down on the couch, and opened my banking app. The remaining loan, early repayment rules, and penalty fees were all listed clearly, item by item. Julian Graham stood beside me. What are you making a fuss about now? I did not look up. Checking the accounts. He sighed. Elaine, be mature. Leah is sick, and you're healthy, so don't fight her over a bed. My fingers froze. Fight her over a bed. I had spent half a year looking at furniture and beds, and I had looked at hundreds of beds. The bed in the master bedroom was the one I chose only after trying 10 different stores. Now he used the word fight. I opened the purchase contract. Property owner, Elaine Bennett. Borrower, Elaine Bennett. The down payment transfer record was saved in the cloud. The renovation contract was there too. When Julian Graham saw the screen, his expression changed. Why are you checking those? I locked the screen. None of your damn business. He lowered his voice. Don't wake Leah up. I glanced at the master bedroom door. Someone else's sign hung on that door. Someone else's blanket lay on that bed. Another woman lived in that room. I picked up my phone and messaged the agent, Ms. Walker. Can this place be sold as soon as possible? Ms. Walker replied quickly. You can bear to let it go. I replied. I can. A dull thud came from the master bedroom. Julian Graham immediately turned and went inside. Leah? Are you okay? You need to go to the bathroom? I'll carry you there. When he came out of the bedroom, he was carrying Leah in his arms and walking toward the bathroom. From an angle he could not see. Leah gave me a victor's smile. In the past, I would have made a scene, but now I felt nothing. I placed my phone face down on the table. Since the master bedroom of this house did not belong to me, there was no need for this house to belong to us either. The next morning, I opened the fridge. My cold brew coffee was gone. The chocolate milk was gone too. Where the ketchup used to be, there was now a row of low-fat milk. A sticky note was pasted on the fridge door. Leah cannot have caffeine, cold drinks, or high sugar. The handwriting was Julian Graham's. He came out of the kitchen holding a bowl of oatmeal. Eat light for now. Leah can't handle strong smells. I looked at that bowl of oatmeal. Last night, when my stomach hurt, he did not ask if I could eat. Now he remembered that Leah could not handle smells. I picked up my bag. I'm not eating. Julian Graham frowned. Throwing a fit again? You have to make that face over breakfast too? I changed my shoes. Save it to coax her. His voice darkened. Elaine Bennett, don't talk so harshly. I went to the walk-in closet. In the main cabinet hung Leah Shaw's beige coats, nightgowns, and shawls. My garment bag had been moved to the balcony, and the bottom of the bag was covered in dust. I picked up the gown. Julian Graham followed me in. She gets anxious if her things are placed outside, so don't overthink it. Then my gown won't get anxious sitting on the balcony? He pressed his lips together. Do you have to compare yourself to a poor woman who was abused? My phone buzzed. A message popped up in the Graham family group chat. Julian's mother sent a voice message. Julian, how did Leah sleep last night? Don't let Elaine go to the master bedroom and bother her. She can't handle being disturbed. Julian Graham replied. Don't worry. I arranged everything. Julian's mother sent another message. Elaine is capable, so being wronged for a few days won't hurt. After marriage, we're all family. No one asked where I had slept last night. No one asked if my stomachache had gotten better. I took a screenshot of the group messages. When Julian Graham saw it, his face turned ugly. Why are you taking screenshots? To keep as a memory. He reached out to take my phone. I stepped half a step back. Don't touch it. His hand stopped in midair. Elaine, why are you so prickly now? I put the gown back into the bag. Your whole family speaks even more sharply. I'm just a slow learner. That morning, I took half a day off. I exported the down payment records. I exported the monthly mortgage deductions. I exported the renovation invoices. I exported the property fees, appliance orders, and soft furnishing lists. In the spreadsheet, Julian Graham had only made a few scattered transfers for the mortgage. Among the furniture, only the TV and dining table had been paid with his card. I messaged Chloe Martin. Help me look at the pre-marriage property settlement. She replied. You finally woke up? I replied. Cut the crap. Do the math. Chloe Martin sent one sentence. The house is under your name, and you have all the evidence. Don't go soft. Julian Graham came back at noon. He handed me a cup of warm water. I was too worked up last night. I'll take you to look at wedding rings this weekend. I looked at that cup of water. A water temperature label for Leah Shaw was still stuck to the bottom of the cup. 45 degrees. I did not take it. His phone rang. Leah Shaw sent a voice message. Julian, that blanket is a little damp. I can't sleep. Julian Graham picked up his car keys. I'll go ask the dry cleaner. I'll be back soon. I asked. What about the wedding rings? He stood at the door. That's not urgent. I lowered my head and submitted the early repayment appointment. A confirmation popped up on the page. I tapped confirm. He was busy protecting a blanket. I was busy dismantling a marital home. Julian Graham had promised to go with me to the wedding hotel for the menu tasting. I booked the time 2 weeks in advance. His parents had dietary restrictions, and I noted them 3 times. Before we left, he received a call from Leah Shaw. She said she did not dare go out alone, and was afraid of running into her ex-boyfriend seeking revenge. Julian Graham glanced at me. You go first. I'll take her to buy clothes and then head over. I picked up the car keys. Okay. He breathed a sigh of relief. Elaine, you really are sensible. I did not respond to that. The hotel manager took out the wedding seating chart. There was an extra name next to the head table. Leah Shaw. The notes were very detailed. Keep away from the speakers. Keep away from the lights. Close to the lounge. Convenient for Mr. Graham to look after her. I held the pen. Who changed this? The manager glanced at the computer. Mr. Graham called last night to confirm it. I put down the pen. The head table is where the bride and groom's parents sit. The manager smiled awkwardly. Mr. Graham said Miss Shaw's situation is special. Half an hour later, Julian Graham arrived. Leah Shaw followed behind him. She had that cashmere blanket draped over her shoulders and was clutching a garment bag. Elaine, I'm sorry. Should I not have come? I looked at Julian Graham. He stood in front of her. She's getting used to the wedding venue in advance, so nothing happens on the day. I asked. My wedding? Who approved her getting used to it? Leah Shaw's eyes reddened. Julian Graham's face darkened. Don't take it out on her. She can't even handle one harsh word. I opened the menu. Then don't come. The tasting began. The first dish, salmon, was served. Leah covered her mouth. It smells fishy. Julian Graham immediately called the manager. Change this dish. The second dish, onion soup, was brought over. She frowned. The flavor is too strong. Julian Graham said, change that too. The manager looked at me. I pushed the menu over. Listen to Mr. Graham. The music trial played. It was the warm-up song I had chosen. Leah lowered her head and clutched the blanket. This sound is making it hard for me to breathe. Julian Graham turned his head. Change it to white noise piano music. I looked at him. Are the guests coming to a wedding or to sleep? He lowered his voice. Elaine, the wedding is just a formality, and Leah can't be triggered. I asked. What about me? He paused. You've always been stronger than her. That sentence landed on the table. I closed the folder. Leah spoke softly. Maybe I shouldn't attend so you two won't fight. Julian Graham immediately grabbed her wrist. No one is asking you to leave. I saw his hand clearly. Only then did he realize it and let go. Leah's breathing grew rapid. Julian Graham helped her up. I'll take her out first. You handle the remaining payment. The manager handed me the bill. I did not sign it. Put the wedding date on hold. The manager froze. Ms. Bennett, the deposit may not be refundable. Follow the contract. When Julian Graham was helping Leah into the car, Ms. Walker the agent called me. Ms. Bennett, if you're serious about selling that house, I have a full cash buyer. I watched Julian Graham close the car door for Leah. I'm serious. Ms. Walker asked. What about the price? Below market price is negotiable. After I got home, I canceled the hotel booking. I also sent a termination request for the bridal shop contract. Julian Graham sent me a message. Leah has stabilized. Don't blow today's matter out of proportion. I replied with 2 words. Too late. He did not reply again. I downloaded a house sale contract template. The wedding could go on without me. The marital home could go on without him too. At 9 the next morning, I went to the bank. The staff member wrote the early repayment penalty on a piece of paper. Ms. Bennett, this is not a small amount. Are you sure you want to proceed? I signed. I'm sure. She reminded me again. After the lien is released, the property can be traded. I handed over my ID. I know. When I walked out of the bank, Julian Graham sent me a message. What do you want for lunch? I replied. Come back early tonight. We'll talk about the house. He replied. Okay. This time, I'll listen to you seriously. I put my phone into my pocket. In the afternoon, Ms. Walker brought the buyers to view the house. I had packed Leah's medicine boxes, sleep machine, essential oil diffuser, and slippers into a clear bag in advance. The bag sat by the entryway. The buyer's wife saw the silk bedding in the master bedroom. It's been kept in pretty good condition. Can it stay? I said. The bedding won't stay. The buyer's husband glanced at the balcony. Why are you selling so urgently? I handed him a copy of the property certificate. I'm preparing to move to another city. Ms. Walker pulled me aside. You've cut the price too hard. They'll still try to bargain. Full cash is fast, so the price is negotiable. She said. You've really made up your mind? Yes. At dusk, Julian Graham came back. He saw the storage boxes in the living room. Organizing wedding supplies? I placed the settlement sheet on the coffee table. Sit. When he saw the spreadsheet, his expression changed. Elaine, are you serious? It was also serious when I slept on the couch last night. He sat down. Go ahead. I opened the first page. The down payment was $3 million. I paid $2 million and you paid $1 million. He nodded. I admit that. The renovation cost $786,000 and I paid it. The main part of the mortgage came out of my account. I paid the property fees, appliances, and soft furnishings. He rubbed his brow. What's the point of calculating this now? There is a point. His phone started vibrating. Leah's name jumped on the screen. He declined it. It rang again a second time. The third time, she sent a voice message. Julian, I'm alone in the master bedroom. I had another nightmare just now. I dreamed that my ex hit me. I'm so scared. Julian Graham stood up. I blocked his way. If you leave tonight, we don't need to talk anymore. He grabbed his car keys. She's too pitiful, Elaine. Don't force me to be cold-blooded. I looked at him. You were pretty cold-blooded the night my stomach hurt. His face stiffened. The heavy mahogany door of the master bedroom clicked shut, and then there was nothing but the low, rhythmic thumping of the dryer in the utility room. Julian had not looked back. The key in his hand had remained flat against his palm as he walked toward the master bedroom. His steps hurried, his shoulders hunched with a sudden, protective urgency. I sat alone on the sofa, the yellow legal pad containing my financial ledger, resting on my knees. The numbers were neat, black, and perfectly balanced. Elaine, Ms. Walker's voice came through the phone on the coffee table, low and professional. The The buyers are ready to sign the preliminary agreement. They've agreed to the $3 million cash offer, with a 7-day closing period. Are you sure you don't want to wait for the weekend? I don't need to wait, I said, my voice quiet. Send me the digital contract. I'll sign it now. And your fiancé? She asked, her voice dropping into a hesitant whisper. Does he need to sign the release? The property is registered solely under my name, Ms. Walker, I said, looking at the faded gray curtains in the dining room that I had bought with my first paycheck. He is not on the deed. He has no legal standing. I understand. I'll send the link to your email. The call ended. I clicked on my laptop, opened the digital signature portal, and typed in my credentials. Do you wish to authorize the sale of 4B, the Grand Avenue? This action cannot be undone. I clicked confirm. The screen flickered, a green checkmark appearing in the center of the display. Before returning to the dashboard, the deed was transferred. The bank had already cleared the early repayment penalty, and the remaining balance would be deposited into my personal account by next Tuesday. Inside the master bedroom, Leah's soft, rhythmic whimpering had subsided into a low, comfortable murmur. There, Savvy. Julian's voice drifted through the walls, sweet and melodic. It was just a dream. I'm here. No one is going to hurt you. I closed my laptop, slid it into my leather bag, and stood up. I didn't take my winter coats from the balcony wardrobe. I didn't take the $3,000 silk shirt that had been used as a rag on the guest room floor. I took only my passport, my grandmother's old gold-rimmed glasses, and my phone. I walked to the entryway, took my spare set of keys from the brass bowl, and placed them on the counter. Beside them, I laid the printout of the hotel cancellation receipt and the wedding dress deposit return. The door clicked shut behind me, the cold, damp autumn air of the corridor smelling of wet leaves and old stone. I walked down the steps of the building, my boots clicking softly on the concrete, and didn't look back once. The next morning, the sun was pale and weak, filtering through the high glass windows of the municipal property office. I sat across from Ms. Walker and the cash buyers, a neat middle-aged couple, named Mr. and Mrs. Davies, who looked at me with a quiet, professional respect. The title is clean, Ms. Bennett, the registrar said, stamping the deed with a heavy metallic thud. The bank's lien has been officially released and the transfer of ownership to Mr. and Mrs. Davies is complete. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. The premises are already vacant of my personal belongings, I said, handing the spare keys to Mrs. Davies. But there are 2 occupants currently residing in the master bedroom. I've already notified them through my lawyer, but they may need some assistance in moving their things. Mrs. Davies frowned, her eyes shifting to Ms. Walker. Occupants? You said the property was ready for immediate possession. They are temporary guests, I said, my voice remaining perfectly level. They have no lease, and they have no legal right to the property. If they refuse to leave by tomorrow morning, you have the full legal right to initiate an immediate eviction through the local precinct. We'll handle it, Ms. Bennett, Mr. Davies said, his face hardening with a serious, businesslike focus. The contract is clear. We'll have our moving team at the house at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you, I said. At 9 that night, my phone vibrated in my coat pocket. It was Julian. Elaine, where are you? His voice was high, frantic, and filled with a sharp, defensive anger that made me pull the phone away from my ear. The smart lock code. Why isn't it working? I've been trying to get into the building for 10 minutes, and the security guard says the apartment's registry has been changed. The code was changed because the property is no longer mine, Julian, I said, my voice quiet as I stood on the balcony of my new hotel room, watching the gray rain streak down the glass. What do you mean it's not yours? I sold it, I said. The cash buyer completed the transfer this morning. The moving team will be at the house at 10 tomorrow morning to clear out the master bedroom. You sold our home? Julian's voice went completely dead, the silence on the other end of the line, so heavy I could hear the wind off the street outside. His car. Elaine, are you crazy? We were getting married next month. My mother. We already sent out the invitations. The wedding is canceled, Julian, I said. I called the hotel yesterday. The deposits have been returned, and the wedding planner has already removed Leah Shaw's name from the head table. Elaine, please. He let out a loud, ragged sob, his voice trembling with a sudden, desperate panic. Leah, she's still sick. She can't handle a sudden move. Her therapist said she needs a stable environment. Then buy her one, I said softly. You have your $1 million cash return from the down payment. It's been transferred to your account, minus the rent for the 6 months you lived in my house and the cost of my $3,000 shirt you used as a rag. Elaine, don't do this to me. The door is closed, Julian, I said. And then I hung up, blocked his number, and slid the phone back into my pocket. The next morning, at exactly 10:15 a.m., the front courtyard of the Grand Avenue Apartments was crowded with two massive, orange moving vans. A dozen neighbors stood near the public boxwood hedges, their faces turned toward the fourth-floor balcony where several workers in blue jumpsuits were carrying out Leah's cello, her yoga mat, and the damp cashmere blanket she had used to cover herself. Julian stood near the moving vans, his hair messy, his face pale and thin. He was still wearing his suit from the day before, but the collar was rumpled, his silk tie hanging loosely from his pocket. Beside him stood his mother, Helen Graham, her face turned a dark mottled purple as she screamed at the moving coordinator. "How dare you touch these things? Do you have any idea who we are? My son is an executive at the Graham Group. This house belongs to him." "The property certificate says otherwise, ma'am," the coordinator said, showing her a digital printout of the deed. "The owner is Elaine Bennett and she has authorized the immediate removal of all remaining personal property. If you continue to obstruct our team, we'll be forced to call the precinct." "Elaine Bennett is a heartless, cold-blooded snake," Helen shrieked, her voice carrying across the quiet street, attracting the attention of several residents who had pulled out their phones to record. "She's doing this to punish us. Because my son took care of a poor, abused woman. She has no gratitude. No manners." I walked down the pavement, wearing my new dark wool coat, my suitcase rolling smoothly behind me. The crowd went quiet as I approached the gate. "Elaine," Helen lunged forward, her fingers clawing at my sleeve, but Ms. Walker stepped between us, her face professional and stern. "Do not touch her, Mrs. Graham," Ms. Walker said. "Elaine, please," Julian whispered, his face hollow, his eyes red and swollen as he looked at my suitcase. "My mother. She didn't mean it. We were just confused. We thought we had more time." "You had 6 months, Julian," I said, looking at him with eyes that were perfectly calm and empty. "But you spent them all looking after Leah's blanket. You didn't have even 5 minutes to buy my stomach medicine." "I forgot," he cried, his tears finally falling, leaving gray tracks down his face. I was stressed. "Leah, she was having those nightmares." "I know," I said. "And now you have all the time in the world to help her with them. You have your $1 million. You can buy her a very quiet rental apartment on the east side." "Elaine, we were all family," Helen screamed behind him, her voice cracking as she watched the moving team carry out the final box of wedding favors. "You can't just throw away 5 years of marriage preparation over a few misunderstandings." "We were never family, Helen," I said, turning my head to look at her one last time. "Because in your family, being capable just meant I was the one who had to pay for your son's mistress while you slept in my master bedroom." I stepped into the back seat of the cab that Ms. Walker had ordered for me. The door clicked shut, cutting off their screams, the moving vans and the heavy limestone building that had once been my dream. "The airport, Miss Bennett?" the driver asked. "Yes," I said, looking out at the city skyline as it began to fade into the gray rain. "The airport." 6 months later. The autumn in Boston was cold and crisp, the air smelling of pine needles, wet asphalt, and the sharp, clean scent of the sea. I stood behind the glass window of my new office in the financial district, a cup of hot chamomile tea in my hands. The new logistics firm I had joined as an operations director was thriving, our Q3 metrics up 12% since the restructuring. My hand was steady, my fingers smooth and free of any tension as I scrolled through my email inbox. A message from Chloe Martin popped up. "Elaine, the final settlement has been filed. Julian's legal team tried to dispute the early repayment penalty, but the judge threw it out immediately. Every single cent of the mortgage deductions has been returned to your account, and his name has been permanently removed from the credit registry." Beside the text lay a PDF of the court's final ruling. At the very bottom of the page, written in Chloe's neat, professional hand, was a note she had added after the hearing. "You should have seen him, Elaine. He looks 40 years old. He's living in a tiny one-bedroom rental near the rail line with Leah. His mother had to sell her own car to pay for the first installment of their debt. Leah's depression didn't survive the sudden move. She's currently suing Julian for emotional distress because he couldn't pay for her private therapy sessions anymore." I looked at the note for a long time. I didn't feel a sudden, dramatic burst of happiness. I didn't feel like a survivor of a tragedy. I simply felt a deep, quiet relief that the cage had finally been dismantled, the iron bars turned back into cold, useless scrap. I locked my phone, slid it into my pocket, and walked out of the office. The wind off the bay was cold, but the sky was a vast, solid blue, and the road ahead of me was wide, clean, and entirely my own.